Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2441 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. This is the 18th lesson in our segment of Theology Thursday. Utilizing excerpts from the book titled, I Dare You Not to Bore Me with the Bible, written by Hebrew scholar and professor, the late Dr. Michael S Heiser, we will invest a couple years going through the entire Bible, exploring these short biblical lessons that you may not have received in Bible classes or church. The Bible is a wonderful book. Its pages reveal the epic story of God's redemption of humankind and the long bitter conflict with evil. Yet it is also a book that seems strange to us at times. While God's book was written for us, it was not written to us. And today our lesson is, Promise Undelivered? When exposed to evil, we might doubt God's presence. Soldiers' accounts and memoirs often recall times of doubt when they have grappled with war atrocities and ultimately the struggle between good and evil. While Scripture is clear that good will triumph, it also says that evil will win its share of battles. In 2 Kings chapter 3, it records a war event where evil won. And this section is Yahweh Takes Sides. 2 Kings chapter 3 describes a rebellion of Moab led by the king Mesha against the monarch of the northern kingdom of Israel, King Jehoram. Chapter 3 verse 5. Jehoram solicited King Jehoshaphat of Judah, the southern kingdom, for assistance with an enemy in verse 7. They were joined by the king of Edom in verse 9. The invasion route by the way of the wilderness in Edom is critical to our storyline. Edom was a territory settled by the descendants of the red-haired Esau in Genesis chapter 25, verse 25. Now, Edom is a play on the word adorn, which is a Hebrew word din, which means red. It was epitomized by a reddish soil and rocks of the wilderness. By taking this roundabout approach to Moab, the invading armies must cross the desert terrain without water in verse 9. Jehoshaphat called the wilderness wandering prophet of Elisha for advice. After a testy response to Jehoshaphat's plea, Elisha received the word from Yahweh. God would supply the army with water, verses 16 and 17. It would appear, without rain, in a stream bed that was presently bone dry. Elisha had a better news. In verse 18 he says, This is a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will give the Moabites into your hands. And this section is called No Faith, No Gain. When they arrived at the place of battle, the Moabite soldiers are fooled by the pools of water that appeared red against the ground of the sun's reflection. They assumed that it was the blood of the invading armies, often enemies themselves, that had erupted in the battle against each other in verse 23. When the Moabites approached the strips to plunder the dead, they were ambushed by invading armies. In desperation, the king of Moab committed a horrible atrocity. In verse 27 it says, He took his oldest son, who was to reign in his place, and offered him as a burnt offering on the wall. The meaning of this next line is hotly debated. It says, And there came a great wrath against Israel, and they withdrew from him and returned to their own land. Why did this happen? Why wasn't Yahweh victorious? After all, Elisha had said that God would give the invaders victory in verse 18. In the Old Testament, we read that the Israelites believed the gods of other nations were real, assigned to the nations by Yahweh, who was superior and ruled over all the other gods, according to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 8 and 9. They believed that these gods were demons, real spiritual beings, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 17. Given the nature of this worldview, it seems that the Israelites were frightened by the sacrifice and lost their faith, thinking that Moab's God was angry against them and would empower Moab to win because of the sacrifice. Elisha had told the kings of Israel and Judah that God would help them, so why had he not? This situation isn't the first time that God promises but chooses not to deliver. God had told the Israelites that they would conquer the land under Moses and Joshua, yet they failed because of their unbelief in Numbers chapter 13, Deuteronomy 31, Joshua 13, and Judges chapter 1. Yahweh was not defeated by the god of Moab. He was and is ready to be able to help his people. But he will not do so if they refuse to believe and act on that belief. This lesson makes up this week's Theology Thursday on our Wisdom Trek podcast, and for the next couple years will satisfy the statement, I dare you not to bore me with the Bible. And I trust that you'll enjoy these lessons, and of course, not be bored. And if you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us, and come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, creating a legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.